You stand in a cathedral, ruined and full of dust. In the corner stands an old man. He comes to you. His tone is hushed. He says, "Oh, dear travelers, do not commit such folly. Do not look at this place in such a way, for it has yet to tell you its story."
Hi, I'm Leo Cloud, head of Caris Games, and I have something I need to say. Last video I talked about the importance of giving direction to your game and using team to do that. How do you find your team? And if you already found it, how do you sow it? The answer to both is expression. What is expression? Expression, simply put, is to produce a representation of something, to say this is such. It's not enough to just create at random. You need to create and have a goal in mind by taking part of the world and mimicking it in a specific way in line with what you appreciate or disapprove of doing satire. How do you find what your team is? I'm going to give an example. Your players are entering a forest. One way to describe it. There's, you go into a forest. There is a large oak tree. There are shrubs on the ground. You feel yourself surrounded by nature. Voices. The great oak tree towers above you, as if by some tyrannical decree. Its leaves obscure light. On the bottom, at its coat, shrubs form a dense formation, warding off any that dare pass. A woman, garbed in dark fabrics, leaves patches exposed. To pose a question, dare you look further, my dear? So too did the forest ask the same of you. Voices. The great oak tree springs from the earth. Its leaves is gracy with velvety darkness. Neighboring it are bushes, forming their own little clan, where each knows the other. A woman will garb herself in green robes and laurels, to be graced and to grade this world with bounty. For one version, you barely imagine anything, but an oak tree and bushes. You won't imagine anything more than that. It kind of sounds like something out of a technical report of one kind or the other. The other two are completely different. One is dark, foreboding, dangerous. The other is light, chipper, welcoming. You would imagine two different situations, two different worlds, even entirely, depending on what you're presented with. Keep in mind there is no real forest in the game. You're not here to describe a forest 100%. Not for what we're trying to do. Now, imagine you give the dark forest, and then you met a happy spy that wanted to help the party. Well, you wouldn't believe it, and for good reason. Or, imagine that for the light forest, you found a sadistic elf that is very mean. You'd be bewildered, which, can be a good thing if done sparingly as an exception to keep your players on their toes, but otherwise, it's not congruous. This is what people mean when they say tone. A good way to figure what you want to say is to find what tone you want, which tone you want. Like in music, you have minor or major key, you can have light and dark tone. You can have a very intense or a mellow tone. You can progress it quickly or slowly. All these aspects also exist in music, which is why finding a soundtrack can help so much when doing it. So if you're musically inclined, that's already a good place to start. Another good place to start is to think of one event that really excites you and work your way back asking, okay, what would have to be for this to happen? And then go back one step until you're in a place where the players can start out from. Also ask what people, institution, places, technologies would there be for that would make this happen. When you're done with that, then go to your original event and ask, okay, does this resolve everything I set up before? And if the answer is no, then you need to continue working out the details and setting things up. If the answer is yes, then pretty much done. Note, this is not a railroad. This is a mountain. Railroad goes in one path because all the rest of the paths are just closed off. A mountain can be climbed, but you don't have to climb it in one particular way. You can take many paths to reach the same place, the peak. And there are many paths to climb a mountain. That's what makes it fun. This is what I call the mountain climbing game design, as opposed to a sandbox and a railroad. You're setting up things that just have a certain way to be resolved. That's all it is. When you have a good idea about the things in your game, try to look at them to find metaphor or analogies. You can be as direct or as subtle as you want with this. It doesn't matter if you're C.S. Lewis or Tolkien. Both results are very expressive. Eventually, you will treat the elements in your game a certain way. And when you do, you will draw in your players like a whirlpool because they will be engrossed in the world that you created. So I just said engrossment. Engrossment is a very important term. So so far I've been approaching this from the outside, but really this is a very internal thing. This is all comes from inside of you, 100%. There is a lot of talk about immersion when role playing and playing as a character, and this is quite good. The equivalence of this for a game director is engrossment. What is engrossment? Grasp of what you imagine is so vivid that you can treat it as real, and you are deeply surrounded in this world that you created, so that it becomes not only real but also inspiring. And this catches on, and your players will be drawn into this same thing with you. When you do this, it would be so much easier for your players and to you to be immersed in characters. Heck, it's easier to even pitch the game to people when you're this. It's like, you immediately summon this world around you, and people are like aware of it. It's I'm exaggerating for effect, but it's literally like that. Uh, a technical note: immersion is introspective. It's the character is the player feeling the character's internal world, while engrossment is all about the external world. It's like the difference between seeing something and feeling something. Now, ways of expression. So far, we talked about setting things up, which is good. That's really most of the work. But for narrating a game, you will need to perform live. Don't be pressured. The only person you need to satisfy is yourself. Once you do, you will draw people around you into a place that is born of your imagination. It might be hard, but you will never not know if you succeeded, and rarely you will need to look long for what you are missing. Ways of being expressive. One of the best things about narrating a game is that you can use nearly any form of expression known to man. You can use prose, poetry, music, images, sculpting, you can add in music, heck, even smells. I once used incense for a scene in a temple. The only thing you can't really do is dance. That I don't think that would work. Me, I like Homer's poetry, especially the translation of Stanley Lombardo. Very good. You should check it out, especially the similes. I like setting a tone with my voice. I like to use images, but sparingly. I like music. Sometimes I play it on my guitar. I've been getting into miniature sculpting, and I use those, especially for monsters. You can use whatever moves you the most. Anything that makes a forest more than just a place with trees. All that being said, there is the most important thing you can use to express yourself: the rules. Since narration is an expressive medium, you're creating this world of imagination and having people act in it. The rules are there to assist in expression, and they are essential for this. How do the rules help you do that? We need rules to play a game and arbitrate what happens. Another function of the rules, which is just as important, is that rules is how you apply creativity in the game. Being creative is about adding things, but also deciding what you are not adding. You are recreating the real in a very selective way. The rules tell you what sequence of actions you need to take and what you can't do. These two basically do the same thing in a way. The rules are prescriptive and restrictive, adding and not adding. The moment you realize the connection, you can align your use of the rules with how you style your game. Rules are the source material of the game, the same way a script is the source material for a movie or play. They are how you slant the game to achieve the style of narration you want. I'm saying you should have rules for. Am I saying you should have rules for everything? No, the subconscious is capable of doing all of that on its own. However, for major decisions and actions that need to be done by everyone, you need rules to dictate the game. Rules work like a combination of math and poetry. It's a way of looking at the world measuring the interaction of things, selecting the essential aspects, and representing them eloquently that allows you to take action. How can you create rules to express what you want? Well, that's a very long topic, and we're going into that for the next video. That's all I gotta say for now. Thanks for watching, and happy gaming.